Currently we're enjoying Honolulu. What prevented you from meeting us at the airport the day before, dear? Through the phone, my mother's overly sweet tone caused my stomach to churn. I remained motionless at Dallas International Airport, my luggage packed beside me as the reality gradually became clear. They had purposefully misled me about when our flight departed. Jocelyn Adams is who I am, and I never imagined my own parents could sink to such depths. 4 months, I had eagerly anticipated this family getaway, desperately requiring rest following a draining work quarter in my marketing executive position. Having just wrapped up hosting significant international clients, this journey was meant to be my compensation, an opportunity to unwind and strengthen bonds with my relatives. What are you saying about yesterday? I succeeded in speaking, my voice trembling. The departure date you provided was today at 2 p.m. The text messages I received confirmed this. The crowded airport abruptly felt overwhelming as fellow passengers hurried around me, their enthusiasm for their own adventures only emphasizing my increasing heartbreak. Oh dear, there must have been a misunderstanding, my mother responded, though I detected the dishonesty in her tone. Your sibling arrived without issues. We've already checked into the resort. Naturally, my sister succeeded. Amy had always been their favorite, their perfect child. I should have sensed something suspicious when they demanded to arrange all the travel bookings independently, insisting it would be more convenient that way. These same parents who depended on me financially somehow didn't believe I could reserve my own ticket. This wasn't a misunderstanding, Mother, I stated, my voice becoming firmer as fury overtook disbelief. You intentionally provided me with an incorrect date. You never intended for me to join this journey, did you? The quiet on the opposite end spoke volumes. Well now, Jocelyn, don't be overly dramatic. These situations occur. I terminated the conversation, my hand shaking. Surrounding me, relatives embraced while preparing for their own trips. Yet I stood isolated, deceived by those who should have cherished me above all. The contradiction wasn't overlooked by me. I had been transferring them funds monthly for 2 years, assisting them in sustaining their way of life following my father's premature retirement. They counted on my monetary assistance for everything from healthcare costs to food supplies, and yet they decided to leave me out of our family getaway. Staring at my pointless luggage, I sensed tears forming in my vision, but beyond sorrow, I experienced a fierce rage building within me. This transcended merely a lost vacation. It concerned years of control and preferential treatment. And standing in that airport, I reached a conclusion that would transform everything. I've constantly questioned whether my parents genuinely viewed me as their child or simply as their private financial resource. During my upbringing, everything centered around Amy, her ballet performances, her perfect grades, her flawless appearance. I adapted to existing in her background, but I never ceased attempting to gain my parents' affection and acceptance. Following college graduation, I dedicated myself to my marketing profession, laboring beyond standard hours and on weekends to advance professionally while Amy chased her aspirations of becoming a performer, supported by our parents' retirement funds. I was constructing something genuine. Within 5 years, I had secured my role as the youngest manager at my company, overseeing significant customer accounts and a 15-person team. That's when my father chose to retire prematurely because of his joint inflammation. Their savings had diminished from financing Amy's unsuccessful performance career, and abruptly they struggled to survive financially. Without pause, I intervened to assist. Monthly, I transferred them $2,000 to handle their home loan and bills. When surprise medical expenses emerged, I handled those as well. In the previous year alone, I provided them over $30,000. Funds I had intended to utilize for purchasing my own residence. We're extremely fortunate to have such a generous child, my mother would express during our weekly telephone conversations. However, those conversations consistently concluded identically, with news about Amy's most recent tryout or her fresh publicity photographs. They never inquired about my profession or my existence unless they required something. 2 months prior, when they referenced organizing a family journey to Hawaii, I was excited. At last, an occasion to enjoy meaningful moments together. They demanded to manage all preparations since father possessed airline rewards to utilize. Don't concern yourself with anything, they stated, simply concentrate on your major customer appointment. We'll handle everything. Like someone naive, I trusted them. I even sent additional funds to their account to assist with covering the accommodation costs. It's the minimum I can contribute, I informed them, envisioning relaxed moments on the shore and family meals observing the twilight. I believed perhaps this journey would differ, that they would ultimately recognize me as beyond just their monetary security source. Rather, I found myself standing in a vacant airport with packed luggage and a shattered spirit. My phone alerted me to a fresh message, a photograph from Amy showing her and our parents at the seaside, beverages in their grasp. The text stated, "Family getaway commences. We're missing your presence, sister. Wish you could have joined us." The fury that consumed me in that instant was unlike anything I had previously experienced. Standing in that airport, staring at Amy's photograph, something within me ultimately broke. I began reviewing previous text communications from my parents, and the sequence became unmistakably evident. Every discussion regarding the journey had been deliberately arranged to guarantee I would miss it. "The departure is at 2 p.m. on the 15th, my mother had messaged, yet examining Amy's social media story, I could observe their travel documents from the previous day, the 14th, completely obvious. They hadn't committed an error. They had orchestrated this trickery thoroughly. My phone rang once more, this time my father calling. "Jocelyn," he commenced, his tone authoritative as if I were a youngster being reprimanded. "Your mother feels extremely distressed by your behavior. We committed a genuine error with the dates and you're transforming this into theatrical drama. You're a mature woman. You should comprehend these situations occur." I expressed amusement, though there was no joy in it. A genuine error? Then for what reason did Amy possess the accurate date? For what reason did you demand to arrange everything independently? For what reason have you been deceiving me for multiple weeks? "Listen carefully," he started, but I interrupted him. "No, father, you listen. I recently examined my financial records. Last week I transmitted you $3,000 for this journey. Was that an error too, or did you simply accept my funds knowing you'd abandon me?" The quiet that ensued revealed everything I required to understand. "Jocelyn," he ultimately stated, his tone gentler now, attempting an alternative strategy. "You're aware we subsist on limited income. We required those funds for the journey. You're performing so successfully in your profession. You comprehend making concessions for relatives, don't you?" My hands trembled so intensely I could scarcely grasp the phone. Concessions for relatives? I've been making concessions for years. I've surrendered my savings, my aspirations of purchasing a residence, everything to sustain you and mother. And this is your repayment to me? "Don't be self-centered," he responded sharply. "Your sibling required this getaway. She's been experiencing tremendous pressure with her performance profession." "Her performance profession?" I interrupted, my volume increasing. "You refer to the pastime you've been financing with my funds while she resides without paying rent in your residence? The tryouts that never progress anywhere while I labor 60-hour weeks to sustain all of you? That's sufficient," he yelled. "I won't tolerate this disrespect. You've transformed, Jocelyn. Wealth has rendered you harsh." In that instant something altered within me. The pain remained present, but now it was solidifying into determination. "You're accurate about one matter, father. I have transformed. And circumstances are about to transform even further." I concluded the conversation and accessed my financial application. It was time to permanently shut down the Bank of Jocelyn. The journey home from the airport passed in a haze of fury and resolve. I dedicated the evening to recording everything, captured images of text communications, financial transfers, a comprehensive calculation of every cent I'd provided them throughout the past 2 years. The sum made me feel nauseated, $47,800. That represented what my parents' affection had required of me. The following morning, I visited my financial institution and terminated the shared account I'd established to send them money. Subsequently, I contacted my organization's Human Resources section to eliminate my parents as recipients from my life coverage policy. With each action, I experienced relief, as if I was ultimately liberating myself from unseen restraints. That's when the communications began arriving in abundance. Initially came the attempts at inducing remorse from my mother. "I cannot rest knowing you're disturbed with us. This is destroying our family unity. How could you be so unfeeling?" Subsequently, Amy participated. "Goodness, you're being extremely theatrical. It was merely a miscommunication. Mother's weeping daily because of you." However, it was my father's communication that genuinely displayed their actual character. "We raised you superior to this. Following everything we've accomplished for you, This is your repayment to us? Your mother requires her prescription refilled this week. Don't you dare forsake your obligations to this family. I observed my phone, astonished by their boldness. My obligations to the family? What regarding their obligation to handle me with fundamental respect? Rather than replying, I composed a transparent, assertive email. Beloved mother, father, and Amy, I've engaged in considerable reflection since the previous day. The Hawaii occurrence wasn't a miscommunication. It was an intentional decision to leave me out while continuing to accept my funds. This sequence of conduct concludes now. Effective right away, I am terminating all monetary assistance. The funds I've supplied was a selection, not a requirement. You'll need to discover another method to handle your costs. Do not reach out to me regarding finances again. I require duration and distance to reassess our connection. Appreciation. Within moments, my phone detonated with communications and messages. My mother departed weeping voice recordings about how they'd forfeit the residence. Amy transmitted furious communications labeling me self-centered and unfeeling. My father's messages became progressively intimidating, cautioning me about ramifications if I didn't regain my rationality. I restricted them all. That evening, as I remained isolated in my residence, uncertainty attempted to penetrate. Years of conditioning had instructed me to prioritize their requirements initially, to accept I was self-centered for establishing limits. However, subsequently I recalled standing in that airport, comprehending they had organized and implemented their treachery while expending my funds. The subsequent day at my workplace, I obtained an unforeseen visitor. My Aunt Rose, my father's sibling, entered my workspace. I learned what transpired. She expressed, positioning herself opposite me. Your parents requested me to discuss rationality with you. I prepared myself for additional guilt attempts, but Rose astonished me. What they executed was merciless, Jocelyn. I've observed them exploit your generosity for years. It's time someone informed you the reality. You merit superior to this. Tears formed in my vision as she extended across the workspace and grasped my hand. Ultimately, someone in my relatives recognized me, genuinely recognized me. They'll attempt everything to draw you back inside, Rose cautioned. Remain resilient. You're executing the appropriate action. 2 weeks following transmitting that correspondence, I uncovered something that rendered the Hawaii occurrence appear insignificant. Rose contacted me during my midday break, her tone tense with worry. Jocelyn, I need to display something to you. Can you arrive at my residence following work? When I reached there, she possessed a collection of documents distributed across her meal table. Your father approached me last week requesting a financial advance. He inadvertently revealed some matters that didn't correspond logically, so I conducted some investigation. What she displayed to me caused my circulation to freeze. Financial records, advance requests, and credit bills illustrated a troubling image. My parents hadn't simply been utilizing my funds for fundamental costs. They'd been existing considerably beyond their capabilities, depending on my assistance to handle their lavish way of life. Examine this, Rose indicated a credit bill. They acquired a fresh card in your identity 3 months prior. Have you examined your credit statement recently? My hands trembled as I retrieved my phone and obtained my credit statement. There it existed, a $15,500 credit card I never realized existed. They had utilized my government identification number and private details to establish it. That's identity crime, Rose stated softly. It's a violation, Jocelyn. I experienced like I couldn't respire. How could they execute this? There's additional, Rose proceeded. Recall that account about Amy's performance profession? She's not even in California for tryouts. She's been residing at the residence this entire duration, laboring part-time at a neighborhood coffee establishment. The funds they alleged was for her publicity photographs and performance instruction. They've been utilizing it for betting. The space rotated as components connected. The persistent requests for additional funds, the unclear clarifications, the remorse attempts when I posed inquiries. It wasn't simply emotional control. It was deception. My phone alerted with a message from my mother. Please dear, we need to converse. Your father's experiencing chest discomfort from all this tension. If anything occurs to him, it'll be your responsibility. I displayed Rose the communication. She negatively gestured. Additional control. They're frantic because their fraudulent structure is deteriorating without your funds. What should I execute? You possess two selections, Rose stated. You can initiate accusations for the identity crime, or you can manage this confidentially. However, either method you need to safeguard yourself. I contemplated years of concession, of prioritizing their requirements before mine, of accepting their deceptions. The chest discomfort, the tears, the remorse attempts. It was all component of their strategy. I desire to converse with them one final time, I stated. In person. However, I require you present with me. Rose acknowledged. I'll arrange it. However, initially we need to collect proof and restrict your credit. They've displayed to you who they genuinely are, Jocelyn. Accept them. That night I couldn't rest. I continued contemplating all the aspirations I'd postponed to sustain them. The residence I desired to purchase, the getaways I never experienced, the savings I should have possessed. They hadn't simply stolen my funds. They'd stolen years of my existence. However, as I remained there, something else transpired to me. For the initial time in my mature existence, I experienced genuinely lucid-minded. The haze of control was elevating, and in its position was a steel-like determination. They desired to participate in strategies. Acceptable. However, this time I would be the one establishing the regulations. The confrontation was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at Rose's residence. I dedicated the morning with a legal professional, comprehending my alternatives concerning the identity crime. Subsequently, I organized a folder with all the proof, the credit bills, financial transfers, text communications, everything I required them to comprehend that their strategy was concluded. When my parents reached, Amy accompanied them. She appeared nothing like the carefree young woman in those Hawaii photographs. Her expression was strained, remorseful. They proceeded into Rose's living space like youngsters summoned to the administrator's workspace. Appreciation for arriving, I commenced, my tone steady. I've uncovered some matters we need to address. Jocelyn, my mother interrupted, tears already commencing. Before you express anything you need to understand. No, I interrupted her. I'm communicating now. I retrieved the credit bills. Would anyone prefer to clarify this? The pigmentation evacuated from my father's expression. Amy appeared perplexed, but my mother intervened rapidly. It was an urgent situation. We were intending to inform you. An urgent situation? I presented additional documents. Like the betting debts? Or the maximized credit bills? Or perhaps Amy's fabricated performance profession? Amy's head rotated abruptly. What do you signify fabricated? I turned toward her. You genuinely don't possess knowledge? They've been informing me you're in California chasing performance. That's where all my funds allegedly proceeded. Your publicity, photographs, instruction, accommodation. What? Amy observed our parents in disbelief. I've been laboring at Starbucks. They informed me you declined to assist with my university expenses. The space detonated in disorder. Amy commenced weeping, my mother attempted to clarify, and my father positioned himself upright, his expression crimson with fury. Sufficient, he yelled. We executed what we had to execute. You don't comprehend. Oh, I comprehend flawlessly, I stated, retrieving my ultimate component of proof. You executed identity crime. That's a national violation. I possess two selections here. Initiate accusations or manage this confidentially. Your conclusion. My mother deteriorated into theatrical weeping. You wouldn't. We're your parents. Parents don't steal from their offspring, Rose interjected. Parents don't deceive and control and execute deception. Just subsequently my father grasped his chest and wavered. My cardiac organ, he inhaled. Contact emergency services. For an instant I nearly surrendered to it. However, subsequently I observed my mother's expression. Not alarm, but calculation. This was their ultimate strategy, their attempt to regain authority. No, I stated resolutely. No additional control. Here's what's going to transpire. You're going to endorse a compensation contract for every cent you stole. You're going to terminate that deceptive credit card. And you're going to depart me isolated. And if we decline? My father inquired, his cardiac episode mysteriously vanished. Subsequently, I'll initiate accusations and you can clarify your behaviors to a legal authority. The quiet that ensued was overwhelming. Ultimately, my father acknowledged, conquered. My mother observed the surface, her tears abruptly evaporated. And Amy observed me as if she was perceiving me transparently for the initial time. As they endorsed the compensation contract my legal professional had organized, I experienced no contentment, only a profound hollow melancholy for the relatives I believed I possessed. In the weeks that ensued, my parents' deliberately assembled facade deteriorated completely. Without my monetary assistance, they were compelled to vend their residence and relocate into a modest dwelling. The compensation contract signified most of their retirement revenue proceeded to compensating back what they'd stolen from me. It wasn't vengeance, it was fairness. Amy relocated with Rose temporarily while she determined her subsequent actions. She contacted me one evening, her tone diminished and uncertain. I possessed no awareness what they were executing, she stated. All these years they've been participating us against each other. I'm extremely apologetic, Jocelyn. Her apology signified something, but it couldn't eliminate years of harm. Nevertheless, it was a commencement. My parents executed one ultimate attempt to control me. They materialized at my workspace without announcement, generating a disturbance in the entrance area. We'll forfeit everything, my mother lamented. Following all we've conceded for you. I maintained my position surrounded by worried colleagues. You forfeited me, I stated tranquilly. That's the only matter that's significant. And it was your selection. Security accompanied them out, and as I observed them depart, I experienced nothing but tranquility. The remorse that had burdened me for years was departed. I was no longer their financial machine, their emotional target, or their casualty. That evening I reserved a journey to Hawaii exclusively for me. As I validated the booking, I expressed amusement at the contradiction. They had attempted to leave me out from a family getaway, but in executing so, they had provided me something invaluable: liberation. 3 months subsequently, I positioned myself on a shore in Maui, observing the twilight illustrate the atmosphere in brilliant oranges and pinks. This wasn't the family getaway I'd initially envisioned, but it was precisely what I required. My phone, tranquil without the persistent bombardment of remorse-inducing communications, alerted with a message from Rose. They're ultimately relocating out of the residence this weekend, she composed. Amy's registered in community university. She's inquiring about having coffee with you when you're returned. I inhaled deeply of ocean atmosphere and responded. Inform her I'm receptive to it. The compensation arrangement was functioning, gradually but reliably. My parents had vended most of their belongings, and monthly, a payment reached from them without omission. Not because they were remorseful, but because they possessed no selection. The deception accusations I'd retained would materialize if they overlooked a solitary installment. My mother continued attempting transmitting emotional correspondences through alternative accounts. We're consuming inexpensive noodles while you're existing in extravagance. Is this what you desired? I eliminated them without replying. Their remorse attempts had forfeited their authority over me. At my workplace I'd secured another advancement. The vitality I formerly dedicated managing my parents' disorder now proceeded into constructing my own existence. I'd even commenced examining residences, an aspiration I'd postponed for years while financing their way of life. Standing in that location on the shore, I ultimately comprehended. Sometimes the most joyful conclusions don't incorporate forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes they're about departing and selecting yourself. My parents had organized this Hawaii journey to injure me, but rather they'd liberated me.